connection. I don't know if you all can hear me.
Have so many mass shootings?
Oh, I hear you.
We can hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
5 by 5.
That's why we lead the world in gun violence. Same way we have
Okay,
more
now I'm
guns
back.
than trucks. This is why we lead the world in crushing perfectly fine cars for no reason.
Someone needs to mute their phone and their television.
And their Hannity.
Yeah.
And given that it's 6:32 and it looks like we have a quorum, why don't we call the meeting to order? And if Anne, you could please call the roll. That.
All right, if you would please announce your name when I announce your jurisdiction. County of San Mateo.
Dave Pine.
County of San Mateo.
Carolyn Blady.
Town of Atherton.
Rick DeVolio.
City of Belmont.
Julia Mates.
City of Brisbane.
Colleen Mackin.
City of Burlingame. Town of Colma.
Ray Gonzalez.
City of Daly City.
Rod Dasmekbua.
City of East Palo Alto. I do have a note that Carlos will be late. City of Foster City. City of Half Moon Bay.
Harvey Warback.
Town of Hillsborough.
Larry May.
City of Los Banos. City of Menlo Park.
Betsy Nash.
City of Millbrae.
Ann Schneider.
City of Pacifica.
Tiger Jazz Big Stick.
Town of Portola Valley.
Jeff Alfs.
City of Redwood City.
Giselle Hale.
City of San Bruno.
Marty Medina.
City of San Carlos.
Laura Palmer Lohan.
City of San Mateo.
Rick Bonilla.
City of South San Francisco.
James Coleman.
Town of Woodside.
John Carvel.
Director Emeritus.
Pradeep Gupta.
And Director Emeritus.
John Keener.
Great.
And we do have a quorum.
Great. Good to see everyone. Welcome to our March meeting. Actually, the next item is public comment. If anyone has public comment on something that is not on the agenda or is on the consent agenda. I don't see any hands raised.
Oh.
Anne.
Okay, I did want to mention that we did receive 2 public comments. We received one from Bruce Carney asking the board to support SB 67. And we received a public comment from Janelle London providing an update on reducing gasoline sales or reduced gasoline taxes from fueling stations. And she provided an update in resources on that.
Okay. Okay, and I don't see any other public comment. So can I get a motion to set the agenda and approve the consent agenda items?
Motion to set the agenda.
Second by Hale.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Can we take roll call, please?
Thank you. If you would please announce your approval or disapproval of the motion when I announce your jurisdiction. County of San Mateo.
Yes.
County of San Mateo.
Yes.
Town of Atherton.
Yes.
City of Belmont.
Yes.
City of Brisbane.
Yes.
City of Burlingame.
Yes.
Town of Colma.
Yes.
City of Daly City.
Yes.
City of East Palo Alto. City of Foster City.
Yes.
City of Half Moon Bay.
Yes.
Town of Hillsborough.
Yes.
City of Los Banos.
Yes.
City of Menlo Park.
Yes.
City of Millbrae.
Yes.
Town of Pacifica.
Yes.
Town of Portola Valley,
Yes.
City of Redwood City,
Yes.
City of San Bruno,
Yes.
City of San Carlos,
Yes.
City of San Mateo,
Yes.
City of South San Francisco,
Yes.
Town of Woodside.
Yes.
And the motion passes unanimously.
Great. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the chair report, and I don't have anything to report. What I've dealt with, I'll address in item 4 on the agenda. So the next item on the agenda is the CEO report.
Good evening, everyone. If we can go to the next slide, please. The items I would like to cover tonight are staffing updates, PUC certification of our implementation plan, the CC Power Board meeting, Cal CCA Bill SB 612, as well as 2 other bills and upcoming PCE meetings. If we could have the next slide, please. So I am very sad to report that TJ is leaving PCE and going over to Rethink Waste. We just found this out today. And apparently it was announced at the Rethink Waste board meeting this afternoon. So he will be staying in the county, and I think we will be interfacing with him as he does the implementation of some energy related work related to waste streams. But we're sorry to see TJ go. You'll be hearing from him later tonight as he's going to be reporting on our educational activities. TJ has been with us since September of 2017, so almost 4 years, about 3.5 years. So anyway, we wish him luck in his new endeavors and look forward to working with him in his new position. I wanted to announce we still have 3 open positions. We have a position for an energy contracts manager. We'll work in our procurement group. Community outreach specialist for Los Banos. We have received some good applicants, and we're in the process of starting to interview those applicants. And for this legislative analyst or senior legislative analyst, we are in the process of interviewing and expect to make a decision in the next week or so. Next slide, please. So this was in the packet that we sent to you. We just wanted to let you know that the implementation plan that we submitted to the PUC in December, amending our plan to add Los Banos, was certified by the PUC. So we're continuing to roll forward on enrolling Los Banos in 2022, enrolling all of the residential and business customers. Next, please. The CC Power, California Community Power, had their second meeting on March 17th, last week. The notes from that meeting are item 20 in your agenda packet. And the main thing that I'm engaged with on them is the Policy Development Committee, along with Sonoma, Redwood Coast, and East Bay. So we presented a draft policy document to the CC Power Board and received comments from the other board members as well as from labor and environmental representatives. And the next step is that we will be, because we're moving forward on a long duration energy storage procurement, we're going to look at how the policies should be applied, particularly to that project, as well as more globally for CC Power as a whole. So we're kind of bifurcating the process here so we don't hold up the long duration energy storage procurement. We are identifying the conditions needed from the project bidders for the long duration energy storage to comply with the preferred policies that the organization wants to have. And then the next steps is that we will be meeting with the labor and environmental representatives who attended the meeting to fully understand their concerns, to inform revisions of the draft policy, and we'll be providing an update at the next CC Power board meeting, including proposed recommendations for policies relating to the long duration energy storage project. So a lot going on there. Next slide, please. As we discussed last week and is in your packet, CalCCA is sponsoring a bill that is being carried by Senator Portantino. This is SB 612. To date, there are 10 co-authors, including 4 of our local representatives. We have submitted a letter of support from PCE, and the next step is to ask all of the cities and the county to also submit letters of support. So we'll be in touch with you to give you some draft language if your entity is so inclined to support this. This bill is to move forward the PCIA Working Group 3 report that was submitted to the PUC over a year ago. And it provides IOU, CCA, and direct access customers equal rights to their proportionate share of IOU products, including GHG products, resource adequacy products, and renewable products. So we are hopeful that something will happen here, either at the PUC or at the legislature, to move this along. And then also at the executive committee a couple weeks ago, our local Senator Josh Becker attended and discussed the bills that he is introducing, SB 67, which is the 24/7 clean energy bill. And again, that was included in your packet, and SB 68, removing barriers to electrification. And I guess we need the next slide, please. So we are planning to submit letters of support for these as well. And last but not least, next slide, please, is the upcoming meetings in April. Because the first of April is a Thursday, the Citizens Advisory Committee, which is held on the second Thursday, is going to be held before the Executive Committee. So we'll be meeting on April 8th. The Executive Committee will meet on April 12th at 10 a.m. because you all voted today to approve the meeting time change for the Executive Committee. So we'll see you at 10 a.m. on April 12th. And then the next board meeting is on April 22nd. So happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have a question? I don't see any hands raised. Okay, thank you, Jan.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, through the chair.
Yes.
Jan, I read about AB 843 allowing CCAs to access bioenergy funds. I wasn't sure if PCE was taking a position on that, or is that going to come up later, or was that just an FYI?
Oh, I'm sorry, I left that one out. We did discuss that at the Executive Committee, and PCE will support that. It allows CCAs to access funding for bioenergy projects, which include biomass and biogas. We have a board policy to not procure any biomass, but there may be other biogas related resources that we would like to procure. And this allows us to get additional funding to purchase those resources because they are more expensive than other types of resources. So it enables us to have a level playing field with the IOUs, which are currently getting the access to the biomat funds. So we will be sending in a letter of support for this as well. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I just wanted to, because I do sit on the statewide commission, and we are for recycling markets, and we're getting considerable pushback from cities around the state on implementing SB 1383, which is part of getting organics out of landfills. And I was actually lobbying to make sure that local governments would have access to funding for anaerobic digestion programs. They may not all be for electricity, although I learned about a really great one down in the Southern California I think in Solano. No, anyway, a city down there. So money is going to be really tight. I like the idea. Of course, my field would not be keen on using forest biomass because we should be putting that right back into the ground. But for what you said, that sounds good. If we do support a project, if it gets funded, it'll come back to our normal board so that we can dive into the details.
Yes.
I can refresh that. If any project like this comes to PCE or the new combined CCA, I would like to get into the details. So please loop me in on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the whole board would be interested, so I think that's good to bring it back, Jen. Giselle, your hand is up.
Thank you, Chair. I had a quick question on 612. What are the tea leaves showing on that one? Does it seem likely, and where is it right now? Would it just first be going through the assembly? Could you just give us a bit of more, an update on that?
Yes. It's going to be going to the Senate Energy Committee.
Okay.
And we had a CalCCA meeting this morning about that sometime in April. So we're still working, CalCCA is working very diligently on getting other stakeholders to support the bill. One of the things that was originally, so we're negotiating with other entities. IEP is, which is Independent Energy Producers, had some thoughts on it. We're also talking to TURN. We're talking to the renewables.
But I guess my question, Jan, is does it look like it's likely to get support as related? Do we have a lobbyist for PCE? I actually don't know if we do or not.
Yes, we have a lobbyist for PCE.
Okay.
And CalCCA is really carrying the water on this one. And we have 2 lobbyists through CalCCA. Okay. So all of the lobbyists are working together on this.
Okay.
So yeah. But as I said, the next step, we as PCE have submitted a letter of support to the Senate Energy Committee Chair. And I'll be reaching out to all of you to ask your cities and the county to also submit letters of support for this bill.
Yeah. What I was trying to garner is more how big of a fight are we in for on this? Like when our lobbyist comes, they'll tell us sort of, okay, this is likely to get through or not, and what we need to do, if you'd had any sense of that.
Well, we're working on it. I think we need 8 votes in the Senate Energy Committee. Right now we know of 3 yes votes, so they're continuing to work on that. That's the first step to get it through that committee.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions to Jan's report? Okay, I don't see any. We'll move on to item number 3, which is the Citizen Advisory Committee report. Desiree, are you going to provide that?
Yes, I'll provide that. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, basically we had 2 major items from our last meeting. The first is we had a building electrification panel, which was really great. We had people from Sonoma Clean Power, SMUD, SVCE, as well as Be Smart Carbon Free Palo Alto. And there is a recording of that available on PCE's website if you'd like to take a look at it. And we also discussed our CAC work plan moving forward. And this is something that was put together by needs from staff as well as reviewed by the executive committee in their last meeting. So we'll continue to put that together. I think, there's some feedback from the committee, a little bit of frustration around what we are and are not allowed to work on. But I think we're really coming to a list of items that are important to staff that we can help with and that are in line with the Brown Act. So those are really the things that we want to make sure we have all of those boxes checked. And those were the main items really that we spent most of the meeting on. So I'm happy to entertain any questions if there are any.
Great. Does anyone have a question for Desiree? I don't see any. Okay, thank you, Desiree. The next item on the agenda is appointments to the executive committee and the standing committee. And the way this works is that each year, The chair and vice chair recommend the members as a slate to be elected by the board to each of the executive committee and the standing committee. So we'll deal with these separately, although I think I could do them at the same time. But we have a couple members that dropped off the board, so we had a couple openings on the executive committee, and Carol Groom is no longer continuing on the executive committee, so we have 3 openings. And the slate that Donna and I are recommending to the board is myself, Donna, Dave Pine, Jeff Alps, Julia Mates, Rick Bania, all continuing voting members, Pradeep Gupta and John Keener, continuing members, and new members, Marty Medina, Giselle Hale, and Laura Palmer Lohan. That will compose 9 voting members of the executive committee. So can we, if anyone has a question or a comment about that, now would be a good time to raise it. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adopt that executive committee.
I make a motion to adopt that committee.
That's Rick Benia. Do I have a second?
Korea, second.
Oh, okay. Tom, fine.
And Ann, did you get who the second was? I didn't see that.
Yeah, I think I heard Tom Maria. Yes. Okay.
Great. Okay.
And,
thank you. And just so everyone knows, in the course of putting together the new appointees to the executive committee, I tried very hard to convince Tom to join the executive committee because I think that it's appropriate that Los Banos is represented. Unfortunately, Tom's job just wouldn't make it work, but hopefully at some point in the future that will work out. We had a very nice interaction around it, and I'm sorry that he won't be able to be there, but we'll keep him posted on everything that comes up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was very honored to be asked. As a teacher, we've been going through various schedule changes with the virtual and the in-person, and now we're going to be going to a hybrid, which is really going to make life confusing. But if I could have juggled it, I would have gladly taken the position as offered. Once again, thank you for the honor.
No problem. Okay, I don't see anyone else with a comment or question. Ann, could we have a roll call vote, please? Or can I get I got a motion and we need a roll call vote.
Yes. Okay. If you would please announce your approval or disapproval of the motion to accept the executive committee slate when I announce your jurisdiction. County of San Mateo.
Yes.
County of San Mateo.
Yes.
Town of Atherton.
Yes.
City of Belmont. Belmont? City of Brisbane.
Yes.
City of Burlingame.
Yes.
Town of Colma.
Yes.
City of Daly City.
Yes.
City of East Palo Alto. City of Foster City.
Yes.
City of Half Moon Bay.
Yes.
Town of Hillsborough.
Yes.
City of Los Banos.
Yes.
City of Menlo Park.
Yes.
City of Millbrae.
Yes.
City of Pacifica.
Yes.
Town of Portola Valley.
Yes.
City of Redwood City.
Yes.
City of San Bruno.
Yes.
City of San Carlos.
Yes.
City of San Mateo.
Yes.
City of South San Francisco.
Yes.
Town of Woodside.
Yes.
And the motion passes.
One comment, I think one of your board members was having technical difficulties, so you didn't hear the response. So one of your absences might have actually tried to signal.
Was that City of Belmont? Maybe not. Or City of East Palo Alto?
I can see Julia here, and
Yeah,
she's struggling with
Julie,
sound.
she's giving her, yeah, her.
Giving thumbs up. So
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Julia, and thank you, team.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And the slate for the Audit and Finance Committee is the continuing 5 members: Donna Colson, Carol Groom, Carlos Romero, Larry May, and Jeff Alps, and Pradeep Gupta. And can I get a motion? And if there's any questions or comments about the Audit Finance Committee, now is a good time to raise them.
Through the chair, please,
Yes,
Rick.
yes, please.
I just want to note that I'll be stepping down as the chair of that committee, and Larry Mays has graciously offered to assume the role of chair of Audit and Finance.
Great. Thank you, Donna. Okay, can I get a motion to approve?
Rick?
John Keener, I have a hand raised.
Yeah. So I would, I've been attending the Audit and Finance Committee meetings for the last year or so, and I would like to be added to the list if possible.
No problem. No problem.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so with the addition of John Keener, can I get a motion?
I'll move approval of the standing committee membership.
Okay, thank you, Dave. And a second?
Second? Donna?
Donna, great, thank you. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Okay, and this is, if you would please announce your approval or disapproval of the motion to accept the slate for the Audit and Finance Committee. And this would include both directors emeriti. When I announce your jurisdiction. County of San Mateo.
Yes.
County of San Mateo.
Yes.
Town of Atherton.
Yes.
City of Belmont.
Yes.
City of Brisbane.
Yes.
City of Burlingame.
Yes.
Town of Colma.
Yes.
City of Daly City.
Yes.
City of East Palo Alto. City of Foster City.
Yes.
City of Half Moon Bay.
Yes.
Town of Hillsborough.
Yes.
City of Los Banos.
Yes.
City of Menlo Park.
Yes.
City of Millbrae. Did we lose Anne? City of Pacifica.
Yes.
Town of Portola Valley.
Yes.
City of Redwood City.
yes.
City of San Bruno.
Yes.
City of San Carlos.
Yes.
City of San Mateo.
Yes.
City of South San Francisco.
Yes.
Town of Woodside.
Yes.
And the motion passes unanimously.
Okay, great. So the next item on the agenda is item number 5, which is a slight revision to policy 16, which is the appointment of the executive board and the committees. Jen, are you going to present that?
Yes, I can tee it up for you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we've been going over this, and we brought this to the executive committee, and they looked at it and approved it, and we're bringing it to you tonight. Basically, the changes are, well, what we've been running across is that, especially in election years, when a lot of people on the board change, we've had vacancies on the executive committee this year. And in order, sometimes we put together subcommittees to help work out certain issues and to talk about certain issues. And if the executive committee is not at full strength, we're limited in how many people from the executive committee can serve on any of these subcommittees. So the changes that we've made here is just to allow the board or the chair and the vice chair to fill any vacancy on both the executive committee and the audit and finance committee on an interim basis until a new slate is approved by the board. So for example, we've been running for the last 3 months with only 7 people on the executive committee. Now we're back to 9 because of the vote that you just made. This would allow the chair and the vice chair to fill vacancies on an interim basis during those months where there's a vacancy. So we aren't in the situation that we're at. It appears that the red line did not get in your packet, but basically you look in your packet, the last line under the executive committee and the last line under the audit and finance committee are the new changes. And then it also specifies that the board will get a slate of the executive committee members and will vote on that at the March board meeting, which you did tonight. So those are the changes.
Right. Just to add a little bit more color to that, this had been on our board agenda last month. And at that point, the proposal was to move the vote on the executive committee and the audit and finance committee. And really the issue is around the executive committee from the March meeting to the February meeting. But that creates some complications because it's at the February meeting that the chair and vice chair are elected each year. And it just created a sort of an uncomfortably complex situation around the chair and vice chair being elected, and then at the same meeting already having to have teed up a slate for the executive committee. And like Jan said, the real problem is when the executive committee is reduced from 9 members, then a majority of the executive committee is less than 5. And we have certain ad hoc committees where we may have 4 members of the executive committee on that ad hoc committee, and we do on a couple of them. And over the last few months, we've had to ask people not to attend the meetings because there would have been a majority of the executive committee on those ad hoc committee meetings. So this is the best way, I believe, to solve the problem, which is that when somebody doesn't run or isn't reelected, the chair and vice chair are able to fill the vacancies on the executive committee. So we can avoid or have a much greater likelihood of avoiding that kind of a problem. So if anyone has any question, and like Jan said, where there had been this other change of moving the vote from March, which it's always been, to February in the last board meeting item, that was left at March, which I think is the right place for it to be. And the only addition is the ability to make these interim appointments. And if anyone has any questions or comments, I'd be happy to entertain those. I don't see any. If I can get a motion to approve.
Move to approve. Second.
Okay. Can we have a roll call?
Could I just get the names of the motion and the second? Sorry, I missed that.
Who was it?
It was Mates
Julia.
for the motion and Palmer Lohan for the second.
Great.
Thank you very much. If you would please announce your approval or disapproval of the motion when I announce your jurisdiction. County of San Mateo.
Yes.
County of San Mateo.
Yes.
Town of Atherton.
Yes.
City of Belmont.
Yes.
City of Brisbane.
Yes.
City of Burlingame.
Yes.
Town of Colma.
Yes.
City of Daly City.
Yes.
City of East Palo Alto. City of Foster City.
Yes.
City of Half Moon Bay.
Yes.
Town of Hillsborough.
Yes.
City of Los Banos.
Yes.
City of Menlo Park.
Yes.
City of Millbrae. City of Pacifica.
Yes.
Town of Portola Valley,
Yes.
City of Redwood City,
Yes.
City of San Bruno,
Yes.
City of San Carlos,
Yes.
City of San Mateo,
Yes.
City of South San Francisco,
Yes.
Town of Woodside,
Yes.
and the motion passes unanimously.
Terrific. Okay, and the next item on the agenda is authorization to adjust the PCE rates, PCE rates in response to the March 1st PG&E rate change.
And Leslie will be making this presentation.
Thank you. Can I have the next slide, please? And next one. So just a bit of a refresher that this is how PCE currently approaches our rate making for all of our rates. We start with the PG&E generation rate for every tariff that's in existence. Multiply that by 95% to get that net 5% discount, PG&E's generation rate. Then we back out the applicable PCIA charge and franchise fee surcharge from each of those tariffs. And then we come up with our PCE Eco Plus rate that we're charging customers after that. Can I get the next slide? So as we all knew it was coming, PG&E had another rate change on March 1st of this year. This is the second rate change for 2021. We were expecting increases in both the generation rate and the PCIA. The PCIA increased by 8% and the PG&E generation rates increased by a weighted average of 1.8%. The generation rate increase was a little bit lower than we were anticipating. So when we have that combination of the PCIA going up, which puts downward pressure on our rates, but the PG&E generation rate also going up, which allows us to raise the rates a little bit. Because the PCIA rates were higher and the generation increases were a little bit less than we were expecting combined, that puts further downward pressure on PCE's rate. So what we're proposing is that PCE rates that authorization to decrease those again a little bit to go back into alignment with our net 5% discount from the PG&E generation rates. And what that would look like is a weighted average of about 2.8% discount across our rate schedule. Get the next slide, please. A couple other things that happened in March 21 with that rate changes is PG&E is fully transitioning all the remaining commercial customers who didn't previously enroll in a new B rate schedule. All of the leftover customers who were still taking service under the legacy A or E rate schedules for commercial customers are being transitioned to B rates. The only exceptions to this are customers that are in a NEM contract that is within a certain interconnection time frame that allows them to stay on an older rate schedule for a period of time. And a few customers that do not have the correct metering configurations to move over to the new rates. Those new rates are aligning the peak hours with the rest of the time of use peak rate schedule. So the peak hours for both the commercial and residential customers on the default rates are going to be 4 to 9 p.m. And because of this this change with the legacy net metering customers, when we were able to dig into those tariffs and take a look at them, we saw that PG&E did actually kind of change those legacy rates quite a bit, more than we were anticipating, to sort of flatten out that differential between the peak and off-peak rates for those legacy rate tariffs. Because the customers that are left on those rate schedules are the NEM customers, the solar customers, who tend to be a little bit more sensitive to some of those changes in the rate schedules, we wanted to do a little bit of additional outreach, especially to our strategic accounts, since in conversations with PG&E, it became clear that they weren't going to they weren't planning to do special outreach to this customer group beyond sort of their inserts that they had done, for noticing. Their focus had been much more on the transition to the B rates, and then the other transition for residential customers. There hadn't been an effort really to do extra communication to the legacy customers that were left behind. So we've been doing a little bit of extra outreach to those customers to make sure they know that these changes are coming. And can I get the next slide, please? So what we're asking for here is we're recommending that the board authorize staff to make adjustments to the Eco Plus rate that continues with that net 5% discount value proposition. And then if that's approved tonight, those rates will go into effect on April 1st. We have been working with Cal Fine. We did already give them a preliminary template. So they are ready to go to implement these on April 1st, pending board approval. Are there any questions?
Okay. If anyone has a question, now's the time to ask. I don't see any questions. Is there any public comment on this matter? I don't see anyone with a hand raised, or no one has texted me, so I'm going to assume there's no public comment. Does anyone on the board have a comment? Okay, Pradeep.
Yeah, my comment is, of course, we need to adjust our rates according to PG&E. But just looking at the PCIA and my old complaint, our customers are sending almost $60 million a year to PG&E under PCIA. And it just is too much of the burden on our customers, while we are actually trying to provide clean power. That money is being sent out. So just the old complaint that we got to make sure that this PCIA somehow that gets resolved soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
John Carville.
So you outlined the formula, some rates changing at different amounts. The net effect to the pricing change you're proposing would be, you mentioned an 8% and a 1.8% the net effect to the consumer.
Yeah, so the actual increase for customers that they would see is somewhere, because there are changes that are happening on both the generation side and the T&D side. So customers are going to see, a little bit of an increase overall, like maybe somewhere in the, 2% overall in their bill neighborhood, for this rate change. The PCE charges, what we're charging customers, is going to go down a little bit, but because there's all these other charges that are, sort of bundled into that, the overall effect for customers is their rates are going to go up a little bit.
So the portion we're charging will go down, but when you net it against the other increases, it'll be a slight net increase.
Yeah, the total that someone's going to pay out of pocket is going to go up a little bit. What we're charging is going to go down to offset some of that, just offset that a bit, but it's not going to offset it entirely because rates are going up overall a little bit.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. So essentially what we've got is the PG&E customers' rates are going to go up quite a bit more than ours are. Essentially, is that what we're doing here?
Yeah, well, it's hard to explain when I say it, because what we're going to charge people is going to go down. The
Right.
net impact to somebody's actual bill that they're paying, because these other surcharges get factored in, PG&E's overall rate structure, is factored in, is going up. So folks are going to pay a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're a Peninsula Clean Energy customer, you're going to pay less than you would if you were a bundled PG&E customer. And that's sort of the high level takeaway.
Yes.
If you're if you live in San Mateo County and you're taking service from Peninsula Clean Energy, you're going to pay less than if you were taking all your service from PG&E.
That's exactly what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? I don't see any. This is an action item. We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
It was,
Okay, I think that was Laura moving and Giselle seconding.
yes.
Okay. And
Thank you. All right. If you would please announce your approval or disapproval of the motion when I announce your jurisdiction. County of San Mateo.
Yes.
County of San Mateo.
Yes.
Town of Atherton.
yes.
City of Belmont.
Yes.
City of Brisbane.
Yes.
City of Burlingame.
Yes.
Town of Colma.
Yes.
City of Daly City.
Yes.
City of East Palo Alto.
Yes.
City of Foster City.
Yes.
City of Half Moon Bay.
Yes.
Town of Hillsborough.
Yes.
City of Los Banos.
Yes.
City of Menlo Park.
Yes.
City of Millbrae. Town of Pacifica.
Yes.
Town of Portola Valley.
Yes.
City of Redwood City.
Yes.
City of San Bruno.
Yes.
City of San Carlos.
Yes.
City of San Mateo.
Yes.
City of South San Francisco.
Yes.
Town of Woodside.
Yes.
And the motion passes unanimously.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the review of programs, accomplishments. I think this had started because some board members had asked staff just to give us a measurement indication of how we're doing with the various programs that we have. And this is the report on that.
Thank you,
directors.
Raphael will be making this presentation. Oh, there he goes. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize. I have some bad lighting here, but hopefully that doesn't come across too bad. So I'm pleased to be talking to you here about accomplishments in the programs for Peninsula Clean Energy. We have been underway for a hair under 3 years now. Next slide. Quickly, just to recap some of the core concepts, in our program objectives, we aim to address greenhouse gas reductions, community benefits, matching supply and demand of electrical load, and then, of course, building our internal capacity. There's some tension across those objectives. So some programs emphasize one area, let's say greenhouse gases, and others may emphasize more of the community benefits, just to take an example. And to do that, we have 3 major levers: influencing decisions, and that's through our incentive programs, education work, and technical assistance. Then, of course, we want to propagate innovation and shape policy. And we've been very engaged, particularly state policy this past year. Next slide. We now have a robust programs portfolio following the roadmap that the board approved in 2018, covering buildings, transportation, and resiliency. The community programs team is responsible for buildings and transportation, and power resources is responsible for resiliency. I will be focusing on buildings and transportation for this report. We have approximately $28 million forecast in the budget for this fiscal year through fiscal year 24. We have spent approximately $2.5 million, which was less than originally planned for a variety of reasons that I can get into. But the bulk of this is in transportation. And we, of course, also have pilot projects, which I'll touch on, and then internal capacity building elements that we've also been focused on in terms of systems, metrics, and roadmaps, and securing additional funds. Next. On the county emissions, it's important to note that county emissions have dropped significantly as a result of the power resources that Peninsula Clean Energy has brought to the table. So here on this table, you can see in the leftmost column comparison of calculated emissions between 2015 and 2019, a significant drop. I should note there's methodological issues that I won't have time to get into. There are different methodologies between these two numbers. So these should be taken as gross estimates, but nonetheless, very substantial drop, and we'll see the further drop once we get the 2021 number as PCE moves to 100% greenhouse gas free power. And that, of course, is on an annual basis. Next slide. Okay, next slide. A quick summary of the outcomes. I'm going to move through these in the next slides in more detail, but the REACH codes has been by far our biggest success to date. And our joint project with Silicon Valley Clean Energy accounts for at least half of the REACH codes adopted statewide. But we have also catalyzed other regions to move on REACH codes through our program. So East Bay Community Energy, San Luis Obispo, and others have picked up our approach and models. And we have extensive now technical assistance supporting developers and training contractors and the like. We, of course, have our flagship incentive program, the EV charging program. We already have 3,200 ports that have applied for incentives. I'll touch on that in the slides here. We have our vehicle incentive programs, which are ongoing, underperforming a little bit, and I'll speak to that, as well as our innovation pilots and other leadership and policy work. Next slide. A bit more detail on the REACH codes. As many of you are aware, we have 11 agencies that have already adopted some form of REACH code to advance low carbon buildings, as well as greater EV readiness. And we are providing technical assistance not only to the cities, but developers and contractor trainings for contractors, and providing grants to cities to consider the REACH codes. And this, again, is a joint partnership with Silicon Valley Clean Energy. This is far and away the most ambitious REACH code effort of its kind in the country, and has already delivered significant innovation in terms of specific policy approaches. And I want to call out Menlo Park for their exceptional work on the building code side, but also many other stakeholders that were involved in developing the EV REACH codes, which really are leading edge, and substantial emissions benefits that we'll be seeing out of this effort. Next slide. And here's the full list of the agencies that have adopted and the particular models. And as we get into the QA, I'll be happy to take questions on this. Next slide. EV charging, as noted earlier, this is the single largest program that we have. We were delayed at least a year by the California Energy Commission. We were successful in having the California Energy Commission bring $12 million to the region, so that was a plus. But we were slowed, and that was a significant factor in lower spend than projected. But as noted earlier, we already have a large number of ports already have applied for incentives, a large number of projects that are receiving technical assistance, and that number will be growing. Next slide. One of the innovations here has been designing design guidelines that have been much more sophisticated, frankly, than other programs. And here in this schematic is a small multi-unit dwelling, older multi-unit dwelling that has accepted our scope to electrify every parking space. And that is through a combination of power management and level 1 charging at a fraction of the cost of a typical installation. So nearly one third the cost. We have a preferred network with IBEW, which we're very excited and proud about. Have negotiated pricing for equipment, and are working with sites not only to secure PCE funding, but other funding pools that are available in the region. Next. EV incentives, as I noted, this area of our program work has underperformed our targets. We frankly learned a lot. And one of those issues that we encountered, for example, was we chose to have incentives work through dealerships in the county, which provided certain benefits in terms of the economic benefits to the county. However, a minority of sales happens within the county. And so that was one of a number of factors that have been learning in terms of relatively low uptake. But in addition to now over 300 new electric vehicles, we also have nearly 100 used electric vehicles that have gone to low-income residents. And that's been, frankly, particularly gratifying because of the major economic value to those residents. And also substantial engagement through our events and participants at those events to really highlight the benefits and fun that comes with an electric vehicle. Next slide. We've also, we believe, helped shape the awareness and interest in electric vehicles. This is a comparison of our surveys from 2019 and 2020. There are here also some methodological issues, but it's still, we believe that we have moved the needle, and I'll call out the last line here in terms of likelihood to purchase EVs. 37% in 2019 and 51% in 2020. We think the 2020 number is a little high, again, due to some methodological issues, but nevertheless, it's moved, we think, significantly. And of course, we're not the only contributors. The Model 3 was introduced in this time frame. There were a number of other factors at work, but we were certainly part of what has moved that awareness and interest. Next slide. We've had a number of pilots, low power and managed charging. And next, I think we might have a graphic here. Go ahead, Shana, next slide. There we go. And invested $300,000 on a low power pilot with smart outlets and have demonstrated the lower cost and benefits of this approach. And also with the smart outlets, the potential for load shaping down the road and a number of other benefits. So we, based on our cost comparison in this particular project, we were estimating, about a quarter of the cost of a traditional level 2 deployment project. Next slide. Managed charging, a big priority in terms of shaping the energy use from electric vehicles. We had a technical feasibility study and demonstrated a 50% reduction in peak load through this project and are now working on phase 2 of this pilot. Next slide. Number of pilots in development, go ahead and click through. I think I have some graphics here. Not happy to take questions here, but our fleet program is forthcoming. I apologize, there's an issue with the animation. There are a couple more clicks there, Shana. But fleet program is forthcoming. That'll include a B2B pilot. Curbside charging, we're in feasibility phase for curbside charging. Ride hailing, this will be a first in California, 100 electric vehicles with Lyft. We're quite excited about that substantial greenhouse gas benefit and economic benefit there for ride hailing drivers. E-bikes, and then an advanced building technology for electric space and water heating. Next. On the leadership side, we have been heavily engaged with a number of agencies to advance particularly transportation electrification concepts. Happy to take questions on this when we get to the Q&A, but it's quite clear that Peninsula Clean Energy is now seen as a go-to resource by the state agencies. We've had a number of requests come directly to us to speak, specifically to comment by a number of agencies, and that expertise is, we think, starting to deliver some real value at this level. Next. We also have been implementing our sustainable workforce policy with a union requirement on the PCE incentive fund for EV charging. And as I noted earlier, we not only secured the $12 million with the CEC, but also secured a commitment by the California Energy Commission to utilize the EVITP training which was a major request from IBEW that we help get implemented. And then we'll also be using union labor on our low-income home upgrade program. Next. This is a little bit of a complicated slide, but we did want to convey on dollars invested and greenhouse gas impact, where the different programs lie. There are two slides here. The first really calls out the significance of the EV infrastructure program. So obviously high dollar investment, but also very high greenhouse gas value. Next slide. And in total, we have we estimate a little under 2% of the annual greenhouse gases in the county represented in terms of benefits out of these programs on an annual basis. Next slide. And then here, zooming in on the other programs to provide a little more detail. As you can see, there's a variety of different impacts and dollar values. I would just call out a couple items. The REACH codes in particular, very, very high greenhouse gas value relative to the investment. This is largely a one-time benefit as we get the majority and hopefully all of the codes up to this standards. So this number will rise some over time, but not that much after we complete the round of adoptions. And then the other things to note here is there is some variety also because some of the portions of these dollars are also targeted at low-income community with higher investment levels associated with those community benefits. Next slide. And that's it. And happy to take questions that you may have, the directors may have.
Great. Do I have any questions for Raphael?
I have one, Mr. Chair.
Please, Rick.
On this slide that we're looking at, it shows EV fleets, 8,900 metric tons. Are we getting much uptake on that program? Because I am really telling a lot of people that I talk with about that when they mention fleets, and they act like they've never heard of it.
Yes, so thank you for that question. We are not yet officially live with that. We are developing an RFP to bring on board a consultant. We are doing some informal consultation that's being provided by Philip Kobernick, who was former fleet manager himself, so steeped in the topic. But we are hoping to get this up and running by the summer.
Thank you.
Raphael, I have a question. Yes. On the EV charging, which is obviously ultimately probably our most expensive program commitment. Yes. I think you summarized our outreach and influence very well, which is important. Could you explain exactly what 3,200 applications for incentives mean? And if you could just give some color to the board to that program, because that is our most expensive program, and 3,600 charging stations is a big number that I'm sure many of us communicate to others. So understanding kind of how we are moving forward in that process and what your expectations are, I think are quite important.
Thank you. So yes, and this has all been a fairly quick delivery, and I know there's a lot of detail here. So the EV charging program, which we call the EV Ready program, has a number of elements. It has an incentive pool, $12 million in incentives, of which $8 million is administered through a co-funding arrangement with the California Energy Commission through what's known as Cal EVIP, and then $4 million that we administer directly. In addition to the incentive pool, we have a very robust technical assistance program that's no cost for any properties in the region, local governments, businesses, and so forth. This is a commercial program. And we will also have a workforce element, which will be coming down the pike. The intention is to drive 3,500 ports in the region. which is a substantial number of ports and moves us the majority of the way to what would be our 2025 goals, at least under the California Energy Commission's targets. We have received applications sufficient for 3,200 ports. It's a little bit complicated. That's all. Most of those are in Cali VIP. Not all of those ports will be funded through that program. We are working with those sites to get either funding through our own dedicated fund or through other sources like the Air District. That 3,200 ports represents probably somewhere on the order of 300 projects. So it's a very sizable number of projects. And in fact, just today had a call with a number of local governments with regards to their application and ensuring they're successful.
Okay, great. Thank you. I've got a question from Giselle.
Thank you. The electric bicycle program was mentioned, but so what is the timeline for that, and what's the initial sizing for the program going to be?
Yeah, so that program is intended to launch in early May. Initially, I would describe the sizing as being really something akin to a pilot, frankly. So we're targeting support for 300 electric bikes, incentives up to $800, and specifically to members of the low-income community. So we haven't finalized the eligibility, but we'll likely be targeting 400% above the federal poverty line, in keeping with our vehicle programs. We will be working closely with Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition, and aim to also work closely with the affordable housing providers in the region.
Great. I think there's some other great potential partners for that, as we've learned through COVID, who've been really key in reaching these communities, and it might be helpful. Perhaps Supervisor Pine could connect you with the right resources there. We've learned so much through COVID about how we reach these communities. So I'm really, really excited about that program. Thank you.
Absolutely. That would be super helpful. Recommendations on partnerships would be very welcome.
Okay, thank you. Rick, and then Carolyn, and then Rod.
Thank you. Just one more question on the EV charging program, Raphael. You mentioned 3,500 applicants, about 300 projects. Can you give us an idea what kind of projects those are? Apartment buildings? Or?
Yes, so as I mentioned, there are two major funding pools that we're participating in. Cali VIP, where we're co-funding $8 million. The structure of that program is really geared primarily towards workplaces. We have large companies in some cases. Also, I mentioned municipalities. So most of those will be business oriented. And then our $4 million dedicated fund, which is primarily targeted to multifamily, but also has other special elements such as new construction in affordable housing or new construction in local government, as well as low power solutions for workplaces. So we're intentionally trying to complement, through our $4 million, complement Cali VIP, which has certain limitations given that structure.
I see that. Thank you.
Okay, Carolyn.
Yeah, can you please share a little bit about the curbside charging program that you mentioned? What is the scope?
Yeah, so the board authorized now, 2 years ago, funding for, which was originally anticipated to be co-funded with DOE. We submitted a proposal which was not successful with DOE, but we moved ahead with the project. And the intention is first to do a feasibility assessment in terms of the costs, potential scope, technology issues, policy issues for curbside charging, where we think that there may be a significant opportunity for greater access and maybe lower cost for EV charging. And once we pass the feasibility phase on metering is going to be very important, I should note. Assuming we can pass the gating items, then we would move to an actual pilot working with a couple cities who have stepped forward with interest and pilot some chargers as curbside chargers and look to address possible, policy questions and approach.
Okay, thanks. The county would be interested in that, definitely.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Rod and then Mark.
Yeah. I don't have a question, but a comment. I am, this past city council meeting, Daly City, we just set a time for our April 26th meeting to, hopefully vote on the REACH code. So I hope that we can join the party with everybody.
Thank you, that's terrific.
Great. Mark Rose.
Thank you. Question about the possibility of solar canopies over streets, over sidewalks to provide electricity for curbside charging.
And certainly those are innovations that we will be exploring as the program moves forward.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else have a question? And you may have noticed I've taken public comment in amongst the board questions just because it's too difficult to separate it on this kind of a discussion. So if there is any additional public comment, you are welcome to join in and let me know. If there are any other questions or comments from members of the board, you're also welcome to let me know at this time. I don't see any other comments, so I'm going to end this item. Thank you very much, Raphael. I think that for our board, there's a lot going on with PCE, and we all know it. And you guys are dealing with it every single day. But those of us on the board, we're just trying to keep up. And it's very technical. So it's important to get this kind of a report. If these issues only come to us when we approve money to be put into them, it really doesn't give the perspective and have the impact on the board that it should have. So this kind of a report is extremely important, and I appreciate you and Jan making it happen. And I hope that we will do this on a periodic basis because we all know this is going to change.
Absolutely.
The next item on the agenda is item number 8, which is a review of school engagement programs. And again, this is a discussion item.
And TJ will be giving this report. TJ, take it away.
Yes, thank you. I think it was last year around this time too that I followed Raphael. So moving from something technical into something that I consider very fun. This is my last board presentation, so a little bittersweet, but I will jump right in. Shana, we can move to the next slide. So first I want to recap, seeing as how there are a number of new board members that I haven't met, haven't heard my school's update. I want to recap the goals that we set when we first launched this effort back in 2018. So we have 4 main goals that we keep in mind when we're funding environmental literacy programs in clean energy. The first, increase understanding of electricity content, usage, conservation, and carbon emissions reduction. 2, equip students, and then hopefully they inform their parents about an understanding of their electric bill. 3, increase understanding of Peninsula Clean Energy and the work we do. And then 4, encourage participation in energy programs. So for example, EV chargers. So we can move to the next slide. So first I just want to touch on one of the programs that we completed since the last update. This was an energy dashboard pilot with the San Carlos School District in partnership with the Office of Education. So this pilot was to develop an online dashboard to really tell the story of energy in San Mateo County schools, as well as look at the range of utilities that schools use, such as water, waste, and transportation could all be integrated into this dashboard that we funded that would then be integrated and brought into the classroom and in lesson plans. The original intent was for the San Carlos School District to kick this off with a big sustainability challenge and track energy usage amongst the campuses and see if there was a school that could reduce their energy usage the most. Unfortunately, COVID hit, and so instead the school district held a sustainability course for the students. And we had about 20 students volunteer their time and come and participate in that sustainability course. The Office of Education did develop lesson plan materials for K-8 around using this dashboard. But since the dashboard pilot launched, a number of new programs have been created. So ultimately, staff have decided to not expand this dashboard project, but to direct funds into other programs that have a little bit of a higher impact. And I'll discuss that here in a few slides. So Shana, you can proceed to the next slide. Great, so moving into our current environmental literacy programs. The first I want to talk about is our One Planet Schools Challenge that we fund in partnership with the Office of Education. This is an awards program that recognizes leaders who are driving environmental transformation in their school or community. And these leaders can be students, it can be PTA, it can be teachers, it can be administrators. It's really just putting a spotlight on whatever group on the campus, on the school campus, is pushing for environmental change and awareness. So Peninsula Clean Energy provides a financial award of $500 each to 5 winners to expand their project in their community. So we can move on to the next slide. So now we're moving into our Youth Climate Ambassadors program. Personally, I cannot underscore enough how great this program ended up being. It was launched in 2020 in partnership with the county's Office of Education, Office of Sustainability, and Citizens Environmental Council of Burlingame. So this is a year-long paid fellowship program for students in grades 9 through 11. They learn about climate change and then take that knowledge and they implement community projects in their school or on their campus. And then ultimately, year after year, we are creating kind of this regional network of engaged youth leaders. It's really exciting. And students learn not only just about climate change, but also through this process, they're managing budgets, they're managing project timelines, they're working on public speaking skills, they're engaging with other members of the community. This has just been a really important program. And it's just been, I think, a great project for Peninsula Clean Energy to be a part of. In 2020, we had 50 students complete the program, I think, which is a major feat given all the pressure that students were under with COVID and being stuck at home. This year we have capped, we've reached our cap. We have 75 students who are participating in the program now. So our funds for this program for 2021 are providing program stipends for the students, as well as mini grant funds that students can apply for to implement community energy projects. So that has launched, we're coming on our 3rd month. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Our Energized Colleges program. So Peninsula Clean Energy has provided funding to the San Mateo County Community College District to support a professional development program called Energized Colleges for community college students. Specifically, our funding is to provide the community college district funds to hire 1 Energized College fellow who will oversee 10 community college students placed at local host organizations throughout San Mateo County. And then the interns are tasked with developing and implementing an energy project with their host site. Right, we can move to our next slide. And then we have our San Mateo Environmental Learning Collaborative Fellowships, which the board did approve an additional round of funding for this program on the consent agenda today. And the SMELC program is a suite of paid professional development programs for teachers and administrators to expand clean energy awareness in schools. So our funding for the Clean Energy Teacher Fellowship supports teachers in developing lesson plans around clean energy that they then implement in their classroom, and we pay them for their time participating in this fellowship. And then for administrators, we teach them about clean energy, and then similar to the Youth Climate Ambassadors program, they also develop a campus impact project. So to date, through these programs, we've had this will be coming up on our 3rd year of funding the Smoke Clean Energy Teacher Fellowship, and our 2nd year of funding the Administrator Fellowship. And to date, we've reached 49 teachers, 10 administrators, and over 1,600 students through this partnership. So it's been really exciting to see it evolve over the years. And so you may have noticed throughout all of our efforts, we've really tried to expand coverage from kindergarten all the way through community college, and really start getting clean energy into the curriculum systemically. So with that, that is my full update, and I welcome questions.
Okay. I have a question from Tom.
Hi, thank you. How do we go about bringing these programs to our school district? I teach elementary, junior high, high school, and college.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see these programs come to our schools here in Atlantis and Merced County in general.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. We have been fortunate that the Office of Education has really taken on administering a lot of these programs. And I think that there's definitely an opportunity. I think until there's maybe a county facilitator who can implement it there, we have been hosting some teachers outside of San Mateo County into the program, because it is kind of a rare program and it's not really happening anywhere else. So there is very much an opportunity, at least for now, for teachers to participate outside of the county. But I think we're potentially a few years out to replicating it, I think, in additional counties.
Okay, because we have our superintendent of county, Merced County Superintendent of Schools used to be the Los Banos Superintendent of Schools, and Steve Teach, and he's a good friend. And then we also have UC Merced. I don't know if you've been over to the campus there, if you've had much contact with UC Merced. One of the most sophisticated chemistry and physics labs in the region. They spent about $9 million over there for that small campus. And it really, all these forward-looking, all these programs, clean energy, clean air, these are all things that that UC Merced is very much into, and in the county, trying to make the whole county aware. So anything I could do, if they're, so this is something you say it'd be a ways off for replicating. I'd love to see, your outlines, your programs, whatnot, and if we could replicate it out here, I sure would like that.
Yeah, I think that I would be happy to connect you with our Office of Education contact. As I mentioned, right now, we definitely take teachers and administrators who are outside of the county as well as part of our cohorts, but I think something as a bigger program that would be replicated countywide somewhere else, I think would definitely need the skills and expertise of our Office of Education to support that.
Okay. I myself am a music teacher, so I would just be a conduit into the science departments. But I'd love to be that conduit.
Yeah.
So the person I would contact on this then, TJ, would be whom?
Tom, I can follow up with you on
Oh,
this.
okay, thanks.
And we can figure out, what the best way might be to get Los Banos and Merced County engaged in the future.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thanks for your presentation.
And just to add to that, Tom, as you know, Los Banos has just joined PCE. It provides us with really quite significant new opportunities, and we have to figure out how to properly incorporate those. So I'm glad that you will connect with Jan. I also know that our local state senator, Josh Becker, is on the board of UC Merced. And UC Merced is a level of educational opportunity that exceeds what we have in, with our community colleges in San Mateo. And whether we can fully address that, I'm sure that's something that staff will look at. But it's a great opportunity, and I think that there are definitely things that we can do.
That would be great. Thank you. Thank you, Rick.
Okay, Rod.
Thank you, TJ, for providing that the presentation on environmental literacy programs. I guess my question is, I mean, as an educator myself, I like to provide frameworks for my curriculum. Is there a social justice and equity lens in terms of teaching it? Because I think it's highly important to go beyond just the mechanics of being literate, of understanding energy usage, but to understand the global dynamics of environmental racism and how it affects developing countries, because we're starting to see unnatural causes that are causing so many environmental catastrophes. So I just want to know, what is the framework? Is it just the intricacies of being efficient and understanding electric bill, or is this like really digging deep and looking at and like soul searching in terms of looking at how we protect, defend, and sustain our planet?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it definitely includes all of that. A really big nod to, again, our Office of Education. I've kind of come in and helped with, specifically around our SMELC Clean Energy Teacher Fellowship, brought a clean energy lens in the work that we are doing. But they have curriculum specialists that they bring in, and they've created this story arc that it's not just, oh, the science of how is clean energy being created, but what does that really mean for us as a society? And they've even gone far enough to help teachers kind of understand what it's like to teach this to students. Students are, children who are going through school right now, they've heard about climate change their entire life, and it's just beating down on them constantly. And so another tool that the Office of Education has worked to implement is also how can students kind of creatively and constructively like have some outlet through that. So the topics range from art projects to writing to just a whole host of things that students can kind of express themselves with. So it really kind of encompasses all of this: social justice, the science, the kind of output that students, the emotions that students are feeling.
Okay, thank you, TJ. I just, I'm really, I see a lot of potential out of this program, and I think you can't talk about environmental literacy programs without, and you can't divorce it away from social justice and equity. So I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. I've got a question from Desiree, or a comment, and then Donna.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to also address that question from Rod. I'm actually involved in the Youth Climate Ambassadors program. So I'm one of the volunteer staff that works with the county staff and works closely with the students. And I'm happy to say that we do have both an environmental justice as well as a social justice lens. Every problem that we look at a triple bottom line analysis. And one of those is really the social justice issue. So just wanted to share that.
Great. Thank you, Desiree.
Thank you.
Donna.
Thank you. And I'm just layering on here because I just wanted to call out Desiree she does lead our CAC, but she also was really involved in the Burlingame CEC and one of the brilliant people who decided to put this program together in Burlingame. And I watched them develop it over the last few years. have supported it and been involved in the awards ceremonies. It's incredibly rewarding. The work they're doing is fantastic. And this is just a great example of how our local community leaders can parlay something into a big program throughout the whole county. So just sort of a real appreciative shout out to Desiree and also to Rod for that great question.
Thank you. Okay, I've got a question, and then I've got Dave Pine. TJ, I want to start by saying I'm really disappointed that you're leaving. I'm certain that you have a really good reason to go away from us, but you have been a rock, and we're going to really seriously miss you. And I mean, this program, the stuff you've done in this area is really influential. And I think about in terms of return on investment. It's so hard to judge exactly what the return on investment is because these are human beings. But we are changing people, and you are making a big influence. And you've just got to make sure that your program continues beyond you. Otherwise, your value is much less significant than I think it is. And I want to focus on the San Carlos dashboard because that program got completely hijacked by COVID. And but you put the program together, and I think if I understand what you presented, the dashboard, it's a really powerful program. And I want to see that program exported to the other cities in San Mateo County, because the school districts, I'm thinking about Atherton's, this little insignificant school area. We're completely combined with 3 other school districts around us. But I can imagine, there was an advanced energy community program between Menlo Park, Atherton, and Redwood City. And I can imagine applying the San Carlos dashboard project to Menlo Park, Redwood City, and Atherton. And it could be a really interesting program that would get a lot of kids charged up and would create extremely valuable competition for a variety of human reasons, not just sustainability, but there's leadership issues that you put into that program that are really valuable. And I want to see that. I don't want to see it go away. I want to see it take new life once we get out of COVID. So I just wonder if you can comment on, what your thoughts are on moving that program maybe back to San Carlos, because they got hijacked by COVID-19, but also expanding it to other jurisdictions within San Mateo County.
Yeah, definitely. I can share some thoughts. And that was really our initial intent, was to expand it. I mean, this was the first project that we really had with schools. And when we went into it, Peninsula Clean Energy's funding provided the startup costs and then the first year of subscription. And in return, as a part of the project, we asked the San Carlos School District if they could work it into their budget to continue on the annual subscription. So I think for our startup costs, it was about $25,000. And then the annual cost is much lower. But that was a commitment that they made. So they'll continue on the subscription. We built the tool for them. They'll keep the subscription, but I think the question is really around startup costs. They had 8 schools for $25,000. And so I think it's really just a matter of cost. I think it's a great tool and a great project. And if that's something that the board is interested in, I think it would be easy to replicate as long as we know the right people. San Carlos was in a really great position. The school district had a really great facilities manager who's now with the city as a sustainability coordinator, but they were just poised, and it was a really fast process, and it could be replicated I think throughout the county, if the board is interested in committing the funding.
So with this board, you have a very unique opportunity because we have quite significant council members from every city council in the county, as you know. And I think what you need to do, since you're leaving in 2 days, your successor needs to do here is to publish to the board in a presentation how we can take the work that's been done and find the right party in the school, in each of our school districts. And those that want to do it will follow up on it. And yeah, there may be some costs associated with that, which certainly we need to consider as a board. But you need to inform us of what we need to take to make it happen. And that hasn't been done yet. Okay, I have a question or a comment from Dave Pine.
Through the chair, if I can get in the queue.
Who is that, Ann?
That is.
Okay, you're after Dave.
Thank you.
First off, TJ, I want to echo Rick's remarks. You have done a phenomenal job. What a incredible suite of program offerings and opportunities for our students in the county. Now, one thing you said really struck me, which is, these students have grown up hearing the word climate change and, for their entire lives. I mean, I, on the other hand, am old enough that I don't think I came across the word climate change until after college. So it's a very different life that our young people are facing. And these programs just fit perfectly into that environment. And so my question goes to is, are other CCAs doing similar work? Or it seems to me this work really needs to be profiled. That hopefully Cal CCA is aware of it, because this is very significant work. It's making a profound difference for young people. And so just curious if other CCAs are doing similar things or whether we're kind of, unique.
I'd say that we are fairly unique and we are kind of leading the charge. There are a number of CCAs who have developed educational materials, I think, for classrooms, for classroom presentations. But I think that the strategy that we've really taken in partnering with the Office of Education is really unique. I think that the next place where this partnership like this could happen would be with Silicon Valley Clean Energy. They've been very interested and their Office of Education is interested. So there have been some conversations there, but we are by far leading the way with this type of approach.
Right. I mean, it certainly points to the benefits of CCAs to be able to implement programs like this. And incredible work.
Okay, thank you. Ann, and then KJ.
Thank you, Chair. Hey, TJ, it's Ann Schneider from the Sea Level Vulnerability Work. Congratulations on all your work and welcome to the world of zero waste. I'm sure we will work together in that capacity. I love all of the programs. However, I wonder how much of the various people who have participated, how are they geographically distributed? And I have a degree in geography, so forgive all the board members. To me, there are many geographical borders and blockages within our county. So for example, Skyline College has an incredible environmental studies program, but if most of the internships are in South County, are those students applying to get those very important internship opportunities? And I don't expect you to go through it now, but I would like to encourage the PCE staff that for all of these programs, you really look at equity, and equity not just by race, equity not just by the income bracket of a community, but equity throughout the county. I lived in Mountain View. I'm a Sierra Club activist, in the areas around Palo Alto and drawing a big circle around it, you can implement so many amazing things because everybody buys into the environment. As I moved back to the city I grew up in Millbrae, that ethos is much different and does not, it isn't as strong. It's much more difficult to get these programs in place. So I just encourage the use of PCE dollars, which are money from all of our ratepayers, are equitably distributed throughout the county.
Yes, and so it is both important to Peninsula Clean Energy as well as the Office of Education to ensure that we have geographic representation in all of these programs. For the Youth Climate Ambassadors program in 2020, we actually had representation, I think, from every high school district. I think actually maybe there was one small one, Pescadero. I think maybe that we didn't have any representation, a very small high school district. But we had great coverage throughout the county. I think some of our challenges with the administrator program and the clean energy teacher program, we do have great representation, but I think it's always, I think we're both, us and the Office of Education, we're really working to kind of establish relationships in the areas that we're not seeing a lot of participation. And I think that that's...
Let me give you an example of how quickly you can lose that. At Mills High School, which is right on the Millbrae-Burlingame border, we had an amazing environmental AP science teacher. And we were working on projects. Well, she took a year off and now she's working at the district. So there is no leader, academic leader at Mills High School anymore. So we've lost that. And even though I would love to grab these students and get them involved in projects, I don't have that access into a high school. I have less faith, I'm sorry, my fellow elected officials, with our Department of Education, because I've looked at how the money for safe routes to school on the bicycle pedestrian side have gone. And my city does not qualify because our census tracts make too much money. So I cannot get students who get hit every year onto school safely. We can't get the funding for it. So I've learned to be a little bit more skeptical, but I want to build an environmental community here in North County. Our own environmental community, not some city who might come in and send us somebody once in a blue moon. And I just am really going to be pushing for geographical equity. Because I have a gut. Let's look at San Carlos. At CCAG 2 weeks ago, we learned about an amazing green infrastructure program. I am so happy for San Carlos, but they got that project because they already had an existing relationship with the county sustainability office. That's terrific for them, but it's not spreading it around the county. And since you're going to that department, you know, I hate to be the negative one. These are great programs. Let's just get them around. And you talked about making sure you can replicate it. That is very important. But you need leaders. You need leaders in every community, or replicable or not, it isn't going to happen. So thank you. And best of luck to you. Welcome to Zero Waste. It's a great place to work.
Okay, I've got KJ, then Desiree, then Mark, and I'm very aware that we are approaching our 2-hour target. So please try to keep your comments brief. KJ.
So naturally, I am sad that TJ is leaving. It doesn't even begin to express my feelings about his departure. He's been a critical member of our marketing and community relations team. I did want to say that one of the secrets to the success that we have had with the schools program is the amazing partnership with the San Mateo County Office of Education, and in particular, Andra Yogian, who is a miracle. I mean, she is a force of nature. And then also the Youth Climate Ambassadors program, which so many of us are just extremely excited about. That really started with Desiree's group, with Burlingame CEC. Donna has acknowledged that. Desiree continues to be involved in that. This all happens because of community relationships. We provide funding and we provide some direction, but it's really this incredible community.
Thank you. Very important.
Valley, I know, has tried time and time again to try to get some grant money for.
Okay, Desiree.
Yeah, so I just briefly wanted to address Anne's question as well. I can only speak to this related to the Youth Climate Ambassadors Program, but I can say that, you know, some of the criteria that we've used in selecting the students has not only involved trying to make sure we have students from all across the county, from all the school districts, as many public and private schools as possible, but also looking at what zip code they live in, asking if they qualify for reduced or free school lunches, as well as when we were in person offering 3 locations around the county where we would hold our meetings. So we had one in North County, one in South County, and one on the coast. And if we look at the numbers of schools and zip codes represented, it is a very diverse group. So I'm pretty happy with the criteria we use.
Right. Thank you, Desiree. Mark.
Thank you. One thing, California State Department of Education might also be interested in this, and if they're not, I know somebody who retired from them who might be. And then the other is that grade-separated elevated bike and pedestrian paths would be much less expensive with a Bosch captive column than concrete. They actually become a viable alternative. I've been involved with that since 1975.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Are there any other comments or questions on TJ's report? Okay, I don't see anyone with their hands up. Thank you very much, TJ. And we're going to miss you. So I hope you stay in touch.
Definitely.
You've got a big legacy here. The next item on the agenda is item number 9, which is board member reports. Do I have anyone who wishes to? Okay, good.
Yes.
I've got Pradeep, and then I've got Jeff.
And you got Rick.
Oh, and I've got Rick. Okay, great.
Thank you, Rick. I just wanted to point out that there might be a typo in the report submitted by TJ regarding the opt-out rates. And for South San Francisco, it shows the opt-out rate to be 20-some%, which I think is definitely not right. So perhaps somebody could look into that and see what's the correct table.
I apologize, Pradeep. I should have caught that. That is a mistake. There was a mistake in the first version of that report from Calpine, and they sent a corrected version. And I should have made sure the corrected version got into that report. So sorry for that.
Thank you.
We will get a corrected version for the board packet that's posted on the website.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Pradeep. Jeff.
Thanks. Couple things. I just wanted to point out the CAC panel discussion on electrification, building electrification was outstanding. If you did not get a chance to watch it live, I highly recommend taking a look at the recordings of it and the resources that go along with them. It was a stellar group. I thought they gave some great talks, and the resources behind it are actually really interesting as well. I also want to point out the Power Conference at Haas Business School, which we sponsored, happened this past week. Also very interesting, maybe a little more technical, but I thought it was a really interesting discussion of some of the kind of interesting issues in the electric industry today. Also the resources for that are available. And then finally, I just want to join others in thanking TJ for his time at PCE. I will miss you. Best of luck going forward, and I'm sure we will cross paths again. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. You've had less to say at this board meeting than past. Anybody else have a member? Oh, Rick Bonilla.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I have an announcement. On May 14th, there's a sustainability group known as Sustainable San Mateo County. They'll be having their virtual awards ceremony. and it's going to be at 5:30 p.m. They will be, and I'm mentioning this because there are 2 awards they're going to be giving out that hit very close to home for us. One is the All Electric Leadership Awards to Peninsula Clean Energy. And the second is a Sustainability Award to Rick Bonilla for my involvement in sustainability over the many years. So if you want to go to the website and check it out, maybe arrange to attend, it's free. It is the Sustainable San Mateo County, sustainablesanmateo.org, not county. Yeah. But yeah, those are great things. So thank you.
Thank you, Rick, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Any other reports? Okay, I don't see any. So thank you, everybody. We look forward to seeing you next month.
Take care, everyone.
We've succeeded in ending this meeting at less than 2 hours. Don't expect that that will be the case every time, but it's an excellent goal.
It's because I stopped talking, Rick.
I understand.
Good job, everyone.
Great job. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.
Put it on.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Catch him.